Good evening, I'm Haylee Ficuciello, and this is your Englebrook Independent News Federal Crime Report, covering major federal cases across the United States Midwest District Courts. Tonight, deadly fentanyl crashes, multi-million-dollar fraud schemes, violent crime crackdowns, and federal indictments spanning 10 states. We begin in Minnesota. In Brooklyn Park's 30-year-old Derek John Thompson has been sentenced to 204 months in federal prison. That's 17 years, after a high-speed crash that killed 5 young women. Prosecutors say Thompson was driving 95 miles per hour in a 55-mile-per-hour zone before running a red light and crashing into a Honda Civic. All 5 occupants aging from 17 to 20 were killed. Inside the vehicle, authorities discovered a loaded Glock handgun, more than 2,000 fentanyl pills, fentanyl powder, cocaine, and a digital scale. Investigators also recovered text messages tied to a large-scale drug trafficking, including requests of 30,000 pills days before the crash. Federal prosecutors confirmed Thompson's DNA was found on both the firearm and narcotics. This sentence will run in part consecutive 704-month state sentence tied to murder and vehicular homicide charged for the same incident. Also in Minnesota, 5 defendants have pled guilty in the massive Feeding Our Future fraud scheme, a case involving $14.6 million in stolen federal funds. Ikrim Yusuf Muhammad, Sakura Abdul Abizan, Aisha Hassan Hussein, Sarah Sharif Ozaman, Fudam Muhammad Yusuf. Prosecutors say the group created fake meal programs, inflated attendance records, and laundered money through shell companies. Some claims falsified reports over 1 million meals served. With these pleas, federal authorities have now secured 63 convictions in one of the largest fraud investigations in recent memory. In Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 36-year-old Lakeith Jackson has been sentenced to 60 months in federal prison for a health care fraud scheme totaling more than $2.6 million. Jackson admitted to billing Medicaid for services that were never provided, while offering kickbacks in exchange for patient information. Officials say the scheme drains resources intended to at-risk mothers and children. The court also ordered $2.3 million in restitution and forfeiture. In western Wisconsin, Crystal D. Muller, 41, has been sentenced to 18 months in prison for her role in a fentanyl trafficking operation. Drugs were shipped from California and distributed locally, with Muller receiving discounted narcotics in exchange for participation. A postal worker involved in the scheme was also previously sentenced after intercepting packages containing narcotics. In Detroit, Michigan, Bryce Silas Patterson, 30, was arrested on federal charges including sexual trafficking of a minor and sexual exploitation of children. Authorities say Patterson posted online ads featuring minors and arranged commercial sex acts. A search of his phone uncovered child sexual abuse material he allegedly created. Patterson remains in federal custody pending a preliminary hearing scheduled for early April. Federal prosecutors have also charged Grado Flores Brana, 48, for illegally re-entering the United States just 6 weeks after being removed. He now faces a renewed prosecution tied to both Michigan and Arizona cases. In another Michigan case, Michelle Dennis Hill, 48, pled guilty to a decade-long fraud scheme involving more than $2.5 million in federal student loan. Investigators say Hill submitted fraudulent applications for over 80 individuals, completing coursework herself to maintain eligibility. She faces up to 20 years in prison at sentencing later this year. In Cedar Rapids, Iowa, Devon Fraser, 26, has been sentenced to 190 months in federal prison. Prosecutors say Fraser distributed fentanyl disguised as Xanax, leading to the overdose death of a 19-year-old woman. Also in Iowa, Marcus Hill, 53, received 12 years in prison for distributing methamphetamine near a protected house location. In Illinois, federal prosecutors in Chicago have charged Timothy Holmes, 31, for allegedly threatening to shoot up a Jewish synagogue in social media posts. Holmes has been released on bond with strict conditions, including no access to social media and a GPS monitoring. In a separate case, Francisco DeVazzo has been sentenced to 78 months in prison for a $3.3 million COVID relief fund fraud scheme. Authorities say the funds were used to purchase luxury vehicles, including a Lamborghini and a Porsche, now seized by the government. In Gary, Indiana, Mark A. Lyons, 32, II was sentenced to 156 months in prison after authorities recovered over 11 kilograms of methamphetamine, pill press, and a firearm. Federal prosecutors in Cincinnati, Ohio, have announced charges against 9 additional defendants as a part of a violent crime reduction initiative targeting illegal firearms. Charges include felons in possession of a firearm and possession of illegal machine gun conversion devices, commonly known as Glock switches. A Kentucky manufacturing company has agreed to pay $887,234 to resolve allegations tied to improperly obtaining PPP loans. In Bowling Green, Sojat S. Hutkins was sentenced to 18 and a half years in federal prison for her role in a conspiracy that trafficked 77 pounds of methamphetamine. A massive coordinated effort known as Operation Spring Cleaning resulted in 101 defendant charges across southwest Missouri. Authorities seized 141 firearms, large quantities of narcotics, and initiated 85 federal indictments in just 3 days. Separately, Anderson Jones, 28, has been charged with attempting to produce child pornography while registered as a sex offender. In Helen and West, Arkansas, 7 individuals have been federally indicted on charges ranging from drug trafficking to illegal firearm possession following a coordinated FBI-led operation. All defendants remain in custody pending trial. From fentanyl trafficking and violent crimes to fraud schemes and federal indictments, these cases reflect the ongoing efforts by federal authorities to prosecute complex and dangerous criminal activity across the Midwest. I'm Haylee Ficuciello, and this has been your Englebrook Independent News Federal Crime Report. From the courtroom to community's impact, we will continue to bring you the facts. Good night.